What is happening, Bitcoin accumulation country? My name is Phil. This is the Fun with Crypto podcast. We are in season 2, and this is episode 32. Well, I want to thank everybody for joining us. We've got another very special episode. We're doing number 3 of the Lightning Node Roundtable. So joining us today, you're going to hear from Rick, who is at Crypto Cloaks. You're going to hear from BTC Socialist. You're going to hear from Oliver. And you're going to hear from OpenNoms and Suheb. And they are going to talk about all the updates that are going on right now with the parts of Lightning that they are working with. Everything from Suheb with Ride the Lightning to OpenNoms with his Raspberry Pi 4 testing. And Rick is going to be talking about his updates with the open source 3D printing project for the Lightning shells. And BTC Socialist is just going to blow our minds with really cool Lightning Pay terminals. And we've got Oliver, who actually wrote a really cool paper that I'm excited to test out about recovering funds from your Lightning nodes. Anyways, got a hell of an episode lined up for you guys. Without further ado, here is the Lightning Node Roundtable number 3. All right. Good morning, evening, and night, Bitcoin accumulation country. Welcome to the 3rd Lightning Node Roundtable. Joining us today are the following Lightning nodes of the Roundtable. We've got Rick from Crypto Cloaks. We've got BTC Socialist. We've got Oliver. We've got OpenNoms. And we've got Suheb from Ride the Lightning. Thank you guys very much for joining us. And
thanks for having us again.
I guess what we can do is we'll get right into it. Let's start with everybody's updates. Whoever, what we'll do is I guess we'll go in a line, and in my case it starts off with Rick from Crypto Cloaks. Now I remember Rick, you were talking about doing some kind of something that you were going to send out, I think, for everybody to use, an open source project.
Yeah, so I'm working with Roots closely on what he wanted for a simple Lightning shell or whatever case for the Raspberry Blitz. So I'm working on an open source project that anybody can print, modify, and we'll get that up there for the Raspberry Pi 4. He wanted rubber bands to hold onto it, and I saw OpenNoms posted a couple images with running 4 rubber bands. So I got to try to get change the design on that one. And the best part about open sourcing it, I'll just put out the basic one here soon. And then people can modify that design if they want to and try to figure out different things. So it's actually going to be pretty sweet. But yeah, that's where the open source is. I have the top and bottom almost done, and I'll get those up there on the GitHub here shortly.
I saw that you had some 4 cases out, some Raspberry Pi 4 cases. How are those?
Yeah, awesome. My printers have been nonstop busy with those Pi 4s. I can't wait to actually get my little shim fan finally. So that way we can be official on the test. I measured it all out. The shim fan will fit in there with the Raspberry Pi 4, but I want to make sure my own is coming this week. But yeah, Pi 4 case is out. And I modified all of the cases to increase thermals in it. I put side vents on all of them, redesigned everything, so they should be a lot better moving forward, Pi 3 and 4.
Very cool.
That's all I got for updates, I guess, for right now. You can move on to the next person.
Cool. Thank you very much, Oliver. What's going on in the world of TLS and macaroons?
Not too much, to be honest. I was on vacation for a while, and when I came back, I was approached by 2 different people who asked me, "Hey, could you help me recover some funds? I lost some channels, and I didn't do the channel backup stuff." And I really looked into that, and I ended up writing an article about how you could actually get your funds back, even if you don't have a channel backup. So I wrote a tool that you can more or less create a fake channel backup and at least get your funds back. So yeah, that's what I did lately, but nothing much else.
What do you mean nothing much else? That's like, I mean, don't get me wrong, but I've got like 5% of a Bitcoin sitting out there just dead because I can't get to it. So I'm definitely going to bug you for this after. And we're going to post a link.
Okay.
We're going to post a link to that in the show notes. That's freaking huge.
There's some conditions for this to work. And I've only done it exactly once successfully, but I think it should help some people at least. So yeah, we should definitely look into it. Yeah.
I will be your guiney pig.
I'll
be your second guinea pig. No problem. We will test it out again.
All right. Nice.
All right, very cool. Okay, so I guess we're gonna move on to open noms. Open noms, man. I've noticed like you've been doing the VM stuff, and I also saw that you put out a tweet with like different stats for heat levels on your pies, like for testing. So, what's going on? I think you're on mute.
All right, so hi. It's good to be here again. It's been, it is a very busy summer for me as well. I'm, trying to travel as much as possible. But in the meantime, yes, as you said, the RP4, it came out in like a Monday morning out of nowhere. So, I just quickly seen it on Twitter, went straight on to like Pi Hut, I think, and, ordered it. It was out of stock. The 4 gigabytes RAM one was out of stock in an hour later. So, that was a good one. So got it quite early, and then, yes, just tested it how it takes the challenge of doing an initial blog download, and yeah, it's put some numbers up, and we just found out and confirmed by others as well that we need an active cooling for it, which is now basically the best we could find is the P Moroni or Pi Moroni fan, which is a fan attached to the GPIO ports and just basically hidden under the LCD screen. So if you didn't see that, check it out. That's a pretty good one. It keeps it under like 45 degrees. Which is valid enough. So yeah.
I just got a USB. I'll put the link in the group chat, but I got a 2-pack of USB fans. Yeah. Because I figured we could run off that, so I'm gonna test this out. I should have them in like 2 days.
Sure. No, I was using just a fan out of of another setup to test, and it makes a huge difference. So anything you got, you need to put that on really to avoid throttling the CPU when on high demand. So that's
what sort of temperatures did it get up to without the fan? Did you measure?
It goes well above 80, and then it throttles down to half of like down to 1 gigahertz, I think, and then maybe even lower. So that's not something you want to
be without a heatsink or any fan, just bare bones.
Yeah, that's bare bones, and then with the I think even just the minimal heatsink in an open case was, without the case, it was making like even like 10 degrees difference. But that's you ideally wanted to keep it under 60 degrees because that's when it starts to get take the voltage off the CPU, and then the performance drops. So
the fan you're talking about, is that the little one where it blows the air out the side like a laptop or something? So it sort of spins out and blows out the side.
No, it's here actually.
It's like a top fan.
Like a top heatsink fan, but
yeah. I don't think you will be able to see this because it's plugged in actually. Should probably.
It's just under it's just under your camera.
Yes.
Don't break your node though.
Just unplug it really quickly. We now have a process to recover the funds. So
right. So this is the one.
Oh, okay.
So it's a shim. It's called a shim fan.
Yeah,
it's a shim because it goes on the GPIO and it fits under the. So these bits fit under the LCD.
Yeah, it slides right under into the pin.
Yeah.
Okay.
So it's called a shim fan. If you Google it, then it comes up. It has also an LCD. It also has a button little clicky button.
How much are those?
£9. So
£9?
it's around $10.
Yeah, I got mine sent to me for $14 total with shipping.
And you got a shim fan also, the same thing?
Yeah, I got that one. I ordered
Okay.
it. It should be here tomorrow, hopefully.
Okay, cool.
So what about when you actually did get it downloading the blockchain? How long did it take you to do? Because I saw you released some stuff on Twitter about that.
I think mine was 80 hours, but it was also was running behind Tor. So, I checked, and I have a couple of other Tor nodes in my flat. So, but I checked, they didn't really download from each other until I gave the actual Tor address to it. But other tests showed like 96 hours, I think. A guy goes by the handle of Bavarian Ledger, did it in 96 hours. So in 3-4 days, it's very realistic. And we didn't even touch the Bitcoin conf settings, which are optimized for the Raspberry Pi 3 for 1 gigabyte RAM. So if we, quadruple those settings, like the buffer size, then it should be even quicker. So, around 3 days is realistic.
Well,
which
that's
is
cool, man.
acceptable, I think.
Yeah.
Fast.
And that was with an SSD as well. So, we could try with a hard drive. That will probably add a bit of time, but...
So for the folks at home who might not know, what is the difference between the Pi 4 and the Pi 3, and why is a Pi 4 able to download the blockchain without, using a torrent or...
Right. So, we have almost every specs improved a lot. It has a similar... The CPU is a similar architecture, but it is faster. It runs on I think 1.5 gigahertz, and it's quad core, but it can go a bit higher, but I don't think it's worth to push it. But the biggest difference, two biggest difference are the RAM size. We have a choice from 1 gigabyte to 2 and 4. Obviously, if you can get your hands on a 4 gigabyte one, that would make it the most future-proof. But I think a 2 gigabytes would be very much sufficient for most of the things we use as well. And then the other thing is to have a USB 3 connection, which is more than 10 times quicker than the USB 3 on the previous. Also, they divided the rail of the Ethernet port and the USB ports, which have been on a common rail on the RP3, which made it basically compete for speed between the internet connection or the LAN connection and the USB port. So it was very, very slow. And this one is, just the specifications say 10 times more. But we did some tests, and it was actually close to that in real life as well. Like the read and write time of the SDD or HDD is significantly quicker.
Well, that's cool, because often, with these new products, they always oversell the product, don't they? And they give you all these big numbers, but then it doesn't actually. Yeah. Whereas I suppose that's why we like the Raspberry Pi, is because we can trust that the numbers that they come out with are probably honest. And
well, this is a true upgrade. I think the Raspberry Pi 3 was quite outdated since a while now, because every competing kind of company from Pine 64 to Hard Kernel, which makes the Odroids, have been having USB 3 connectors and gigabit LAN connectors, and more at least 2 gigabytes or 4 gigabytes. But now the Raspberry Pi came up with it as well. It also comes with a new version of Debian. I think they timed it to the right time. So you upgrade and you have a Debian 10 called Buster, strange name, and it gives a couple of new functions as well, and needs loads of testing. But we have the if you probably know that we have the Rootsol has released the release candidate 1 of the Raspberry Blitz 1.3.
Yep.
Which is compatible with the Raspberry Pi 4, and also runs on the Raspbian, which is based on the Debian 10, the Buster.
Are the specs is the Bitcoin config file on the 1.3 candidate, are the settings optimized for the RPI4?
No, they're still, we kept the setting.
Or do we have to do it manually?
Yes. I mean, first of all, we need to test if it makes any difference if we change the heads,
Oh yeah,
right?
that's true.
And what Ruth wanted, and I agree completely that we want to keep the compatibility with the Raspberry Pi 3, as
Yes.
we want those people to upgrade to the new version of the Raspberry Blitz as well, who are running on Raspberry Pi 3. So we keep those settings by default, and we already know that it works pretty well. I mean, with the initial block download of 3-4 days, even with those settings, is completely acceptable. I'm curious if we can improve that at all.
Cool. All right, we're gonna move on to Suheb right now from Ride the Lightning.
Hey guys. So in terms of updates, so we have started collaborating with a person on the UX side. So expect some UX improvements in the future iterations of RTL. So we've had some discussions. The outcome is good. Now we are in a position where we can actually start development, right? So it'll take us some time because the UX inputs are almost like a complete overhaul of the UI. It's going to be a very different design. So it'll require a lot of development effort as well. So that's one thing that that's a big thing which will come out in the near future. And then the other thing that we are working on is integration with C Lightning. I have a basic version of API layer out, the REST APIs for C Lightning. We need to add more, API coverage, but there is a basic API set out which we can start using to integrate the UI. And then we have to, of course, work on adding Lightning Loop and other L&D features which are very important for instance, like merchants operating on BTC Pay server. Right? They need features like Lightning Loop so that they can add incoming capacity. Right. So these are some of the things that we are working on. There are a lot of things. Time is limited, so it'll take us time to kind of cover all of these things. But yeah, we'll be working on these things.
Any plans for supporting watchtowers or anything like that? I know that's like not near future, but it is coming. Like we're starting to see some watchtower stuff out there. I saw there was some some stuff from OpenNoms.
Watchtower is actually and in fact, if you look at RTLs from a design philosophy perspective, right, the persona that we've been building towards of RTL is routing node operator, and a logical extension to routing node operator would be watchtower operator. So it makes sense to have definitely have a UI feature which kind of supports those aspects as well. I think with LND 7 you have the watchtower enabled. I've not tested it yet. I've just read about it. But like there's now our pipeline is getting clogged. Like we have a lot of features to develop and very very less time. So that's where we are trying to prioritize functional UX was actually very basic in the current RTL version that you have. It's very raw, kind of clunky, but it gives you a functional way to deal with your node functions. We are very keen on creating a more polished UX, and then also continue to add functional features. There's going to be a minor release coming up right now where you can do query routes. We are hoping to release it today, and some bug fixes. And then we'll start working on our UX improvements and C Lightning integration.
Oh man, that is awesome. And by the way, the fact that you're working on so many different features, that's because you're getting so many requests. So that's a high class problem. We like that.
Yeah, that's a nice problem to have, but does not leave time for anything else. It's just crazy, pipeline of development that we have to continue to do.
Well, I love your interface, and I know that all I hear from anybody in the community is all good things. So keep it up, you know.
Thanks.
Thanks. We love it. Okay, so here we're gonna move on to BTC Socialist. You were out at a conference recently, or at some point. I don't know if it was the San Francisco conference, but I remember you tweeting about something. What's going on?
I went to the San Francisco conference and fitted some of these little modules to arcade machines so they could accept Lightning. They were cool. And they had good feedback. It was like a good experience in the conference. My favorite part of the conference was the guys who worked there, like the security guards. They came over and they said, "Oh, what's this?" And I said, "Oh, it's, you can pay for using Bitcoin for these arcade machines, blah blah blah." And then I got them to install a wallet, and I sent them some Satoshis. And then they were doing it on their breaks. They were coming up, and then they were playing on these arcade machines. And then at the end of the day, I turned all the arcade machines off and all the machines off, all the little just like an ESP32 with a screen, just requesting an invoice and displaying the invoice as a QR code. And then they came up and they turned them all back on. And then when the night shift guys came in, they showed them how to download a wallet, and then sent them some Satoshis too. So you had all these like future coiners. And that was the best part of the conference, because we're all Bitcoiners, but you had all the people working there actually using it and like enjoying the experience of using it as well, which was great. So that was really cool. And then we had, shortly after that, it was a few weeks after that, we had the BitDevs in London. So Christian Rutzel came over, and then we drove over to BitDevs in London. That was great. Open Noms was there. Christian did a fantastic presentation on the Raspberry Blitz, and then the transition as well. So we talked a little bit about using the Raspberry Pi 4. So if anyone hasn't seen that, then it's well worth looking up. If you go on YouTube, I mean, we could drop the link in the show notes, but you could probably just find it. If you type in BitDevs Raspberry Blitz or something. But that's it's a long presentation, but I think it's one of the It's the least boring presentation I've seen in quite a long time. I really enjoyed it, so that was great. And then I got to show off some of my little bits I've been making as well after he did that. And then after BitDevs, he then came back here to Wales for a few days, and we worked on a flux capacitor, so a point of sale device for Room 77 in Berlin, interacting with their Raspberry Blitz node. And we got that working. It was great, and he went home with it. But I wasn't 100% happy with the form factor. Like, I printed it myself. It was a little bit clunky. It's functional. Like, it's got massive batteries and run out of power, and it's got a backlit screen and things. But it just felt a little bit clunky and crappy. So one of the other projects I've been doing is playing around with the M5 stack and the M5 stick, and with STEP and making little hardware wallets, DIY hardware wallets. And I thought, as with the original flux capacitor thing, once I got the QR code on the little screen, I was like, okay, all I need now is a keypad to be able to plug in, and I can turn it into a point of sale terminal. So then yesterday, I was able to, because I've been busy, but I was able to yesterday just sit down, have a good 12-hour stint at the computer, and I was able to hammer it out. So I've got here like a little, it's like a $55 point of sale terminal, and this is communicating with the Raspberry Blitz, the Room 77 Blitz. And if I click it on, you should get, there we are, get a little logo thing come up, which is pretty cool, using a little VGL. And then it should, once it's connected, there we are, it asks you to input an amount, and then it does like the conversion on the fly, so you input an amount, but you can cancel it if you want, so we'll cancel that, say, and then we can input an amount. Ooh. And then if we hit this one here, this button, so button C, it says processing, and then it should fetch an invoice, bring it back, process it, and then display a little Lightning QR code there. It's pretty cool.
Okay. Question.
Yes.
So how does it communicate with the Blitz?
So it's just doing it over the API, just an API request, isn't it? So it's got the invoice and the read macaroon, and it's also got the TLS certificate. So it just does a SSL connection with the Blitz, and then using the LND API, it just requests an invoice for the amount in which you input, and then brings it back and displays it. And now it's just checking, has the invoice been paid? What's really cool though is so this is called the actual unit's called an M5 stack face development kit, and the full unit comes with a whole bunch of different little keypads and things, and you can kind of add them on or swap them over, whatever. It's like $55, and it comes with a little powered docking station, which is magnetic, so you can just stick it on something metal, and then you pop that in there. And if this is plugged in, it's just powering it. So when they're using it in the bar, they can just pull it off like a normal point of sale terminal and blah blah blah. I'll cancel that because I'm going to wallet out. So if you can cancel it. See, it says cancelled. But then not only does this, have I got like a Raspberry Blitz version, so an L&D node version. I also made like a open node version as well. So this one's using the open node API to do this, basically the same thing, except you're not using your own node, you're just using open nodes thing instead. So my idea being that, my guy's got a coffee shop down the road, he wants to accept Bitcoin. Me and Stepan were working on, Stepan mostly because it's pretty hard, DIY hardware wallet. So if I can make a little DIY hardware wallet using this thing, this is an M5 stick. These are about $15. It's got a nice little display, a couple of clicky buttons. It's based on the SP32. We can make a hardware wallet using this, just a simple functional hardware wallet. Not super secure, but secure enough for like someone who's accepting some, a small amount of Bitcoin. And then they could also have a point of sale terminal like this, using OpenNode, and then it concatenates the Lightning payments and then outputs the hardware wallet. And then this whole kit here is like $70 worth of hardware, and they've got a fully functional point of sale terminal system. Or they can add the Blitz, or an L&D node, and then have like a this and also including a node as well, and then have it communicate with it.
Okay, so I'm going to ask you another stupid question. So I'm guessing, like, do you configure the connection to your node on that little device?
Well, so currently, because it's like a DIY project, you flash. It's really easy to do. You just use the Arduino ID, and then you flash the software onto there yourself with your Wi-Fi credentials and your macaroons and so on. However, I've done projects in the past where you make this can make an access point. So say when you turn it on, you press the middle button, it'll make a Wi-Fi hotspot. You connect to that Wi-Fi hotspot, input the access point, input a password, and then that'll take you somewhere where you have inputs where you can input your Wi-Fi credentials and then your macaroon and your TLS certificate. So that would be a bit more of a user-friendly way if you were going to send these out to people, where they could easily just power it up, press the button, go on their laptop, put in the details, restart it, and then it will just connect to their node and to their Wi-Fi. But it's not hard to flash these things. You just download the Arduino IDE, install a couple of libraries, and you're away. M5 Stack, they have a really good little library, and it covers quite a lot. So it does the QR code generation, so you don't need an external library for that, which makes it a lot simpler. What's cool as well is I tweeted this out, and I'm really keen, because I think we've got a lot of talent in the Maker ESP32, M5 Stack, whatever, microcontroller community, which aren't exploring Bitcoin. Me and Stepan were talking, there's like a handful of makers. There's like me, him, Justin Moon, a couple of other people messing around with microcontrollers and Bitcoin. We're very keen on pulling them in. So when I tweeted this out, M5 Stack, they were liking all the tweets, they retweeted it, the actual company M5 Stack as well. So So who knows? Maybe they'll develop, another keypad which is specific for a point of sale unit if enough of us Bitcoiners start fiddling around with them. So I think it's cool that we're getting that interest from that other huge community of people who have great tech skills and can do interesting things with this, with these microcontrollers. So that's the most recent thing. It's been pretty eventful. It's great. Hopefully the next thing will be getting a little hardware wallet made, and then getting that to interact with OpenNode or whatever, or getting But that's hopefully the next stage in the project. But that's about it.
I just got to say that is super, super sweet, and I need to learn how to code because that's ridiculous. You guys that code can do some crazy things, and I'm jealous.
This is what I'm trying to say. It's not hard. I'm going to do a video tutorial on it, but it's not a hard thing to start playing around with these things. And because it's Lightning, because it's small amounts, and because you're using, your invoice macaroon, for example, there's only so much damage someone can cause, really. You are giving them the read macaroon. But if you're using something like OpenNode, you're just using an invoice API. There's not that much. All the people can do is just generate invoices. If you lose a device, then you can just delete that API key or whatever. So it's not that hard, and it's quite safe as well to experiment with this stuff. So I'm super psyched for getting the video tutorial done for that, and then just exploring it more and improving it.
Do you have like an M5 development kit that you suggest for people who want to get started in it? Because
I honestly,
I just went to their website and they have like all kinds of stuff. So
I would go for this one. This is the one I bought with. It's got like
faces.
It's cool because you can turn it into a little Nintendo. But it's got different keypads. So this one has like a proper keypad where you can like input letters and stuff. And then this is the M5 stack here. And then this is kind of like the faces backboard, and then that just kind of sits on top of there, and then you just add the keypad you want to add, and then you flash it with your code, and it's cool. It works. It's mostly it's all open source stuff, like the ESP32s, pretty much full open source, and then it's got an Amiga 358 or whatever it's called T. That's a full open source chip. So it's very auditable, very safe. You can check all the hardware in there. It's dope. I mean, if you go on AliExpress, you can get them for like $55. If you go on your local Amazon, you'll probably pay like $60, $70. But still, though, for the amount of things you can do with this thing, it's cool. So yeah, totally worth getting that. So that's the Faces development kit. Really psyched.
And it's cool. You can do an LTE module or GSM module, and then it's completely independent from any base station, right? So you only need it to charge the battery.
So this is something like you could use in your beer thing, for example. Like this is just generating an invoice for a set amount, you pay it, and then flicking the little relay on, and that's just the M5 stack without the Faces development bit like added onto it. So no, it's really durable and simple and easy to use. Because I mean, like some of the projects I've been doing have been fun, but like there's too many plugging in wires and things, a bit complicated for people. So this is a simpler way of doing it where they can just spend like, I think these are like $30 each or something just on their own. And then obviously, of course, the name M5 Stack Sats. So perfect. I was really happy. That was the thing I was most happy with. It was just the name.
I love it, man. I just learned something new. I'm probably going to end up getting one of these kits and failing miserably with it a few times.
Well,
I'm super
I'll try and
psyched.
put many resources out there as possible. If anyone gets really stuck, then just tweet me and I'll try and help them.
Oh, man, that is absolutely awesome.
It's badass.
So thank you very much for sharing that. And obviously, we're going to post. I'm going to post links to the in the show notes to that m5stack.com website if anybody's interested. So all right, we're through the introductions, and we're now the even more fun part, which is our general discussion about all things Lightning. And there was a couple of things that I see in the chat some people wanted to talk about. There's Crypto Cloaks that mentioned watchtowers. So I saw a tweet from OpenNoms. I think it was OpenNoms, right? For watchtowers, like how to set it up, like in with your. I'm assuming it's on the Raspberry Blitz. Was that it?
Yeah.
Like the. So
yes. So Watchtower functionality came out in the LND 0.7, which was now it's a month old, right? It's in Bitcoin time. It is years.
That's forever.
Yeah. So I started to play around with it, basically straight after, and I managed to make it work in your own LAN. Within your own home network, it's quite straightforward. It has a very, very good description, installation guide from Bitconner, who actually implemented it into LND. So you can just go by that. But what I've done is made a guide specifically for the Raspberry Blitz. I mean, including how to open ports, what you need to do with what it is specific to our setup, and also managed to make it work behind Tor now. So basically, if you go into there is a repo of mine under like GitHub -OpenArms Lightning Node Management. There is a watchtower.md, which I will link here, and that is about it's basically an introduction and then a step-by-step guide about how to set this up and how to see it working in the logs as well. And then the address of one of my nodes, which is only a test node, so there is no way breaking it. I mean, it is supposed to be broken. That's the point. But if you have a node behind Tor, then you can actually connect to it and be protected from, malicious peers who are basically trying to cheat you by reinstating a previous state. So that is, I don't think that happens very often in like like people don't really, your peers, you should have peers who don't want to cheat you, right? But then accidentally, when someone is recovering an old backup, they could go for a previous state, and then they might accidentally cheat you. So if you have a watchtower connected, watching the blockchain for you, then it will make this justice transaction instead of your node. So what would happen by default if you have a peer coming back with a previous state, then there would be a justice transaction broadcasted, which would result in force closing the channel, and all the funds in the channel move to you, to node which is cheated. The problem is when someone would close a channel with a previous state when your node is offline. And then, I mean, with a force close, there is like a time limit. It's usually, I think it's a week or at least like 2 days to wait before the transaction is accepted, or before it is before the funds return after the force close. But if you don't go online in that time period, then that peer is able to take the funds. But if there is a watchtower which has been provided with the information about these channels, I mean, we can go into more detail, but I think it's better to read it through. In short, the watchtower doesn't know about your channels until a force close is broadcasted.
Yeah.
And then finds that in the blockchain, and then it broadcasts the justice transaction on the behalf of your node. So that's what it all does. It basically has half of the transaction ID of the possible closing transactions, and then just looks for this in the blockchain. So it can be done by any little device, like an Raspberry Pi 3 is able to be a watchtower for a couple of nodes at least. That's why I'm curious if some people, for example, connect to me. I don't think it would make any significant demand on my node. So that's why I've just shared the address as well. And yeah.
So let me ask you this: what do you? I mean, because so far from everything I've read about the watchtowers, it's pretty much we're not, the only incentive, which is a good incentive, right, is to keep everybody honest, right? It's an independent, in a way, an independent third party that is not, well, third party. It's a bad way to describe it. Like, I guess like an impartial algorithm, right? That keeps the knowledge of the last closed state. So I guess what I'm saying is that like, is there any like incentive in terms of Satoshis for running one of these, or is it really just about kind of keeping the peace?
Yeah, right. So first of all, it doesn't only know the last state, but it does know about all the possible transactions which could be result of closing with a previous state. Oh, okay. So it has a list. So basically, every little data packet is like a tweet, which is when the channel state changes, it is sent to the watchtower, and then it stores it. So it's needs some storage as well, but it's obviously a lot you can store in like 1 gigabyte, right? Oh, sorry. What was the second part of the question?
Oh yeah, no. Just the second part of the question was the the incentive, right? Like,
yes, right. So,
it's really like are we actually getting, like when we do, when we have lightning channels, we get, small portions of satoshis or a small amount of satoshis. Like the watchtower implementation, I don't know if we get that for providing a watchtower.
No, for now these are called altruistic watchtowers.
Yeah.
So for that reason, that you cannot take a share of a kind of a saved fund, but in later versions of LND, it will be implemented that you can set basically a fee, either a fixed fee or kind of a percentage fee from a transaction which which the watchtower has saved, basically, or like a channel content which has been saved. So yeah, it can be profitable later. For now, it is completely free. It's just to, as you say, keep the network honest.
Do you let me ask you this: have you guys started discussing building the the SSH terminal UI for being able to manage the watchtowers, or being able to connect to one, or from the Raspberry Blitz, like not just the method that you described in the instructions, but something something that's an easier UX for those of us that are not comfortable at the command line?
Well, it's just a matter of knowing a reliable watchtower. I mean, my test node is not that for now, but it's just a matter of putting it into the LND conf that watchtowers that you want to activate it, and just put down a client address. Basically, it's almost like opening having a peer connected, just not connected as a peer for channels, but a peer to be a watchtower.
So the incentive for running a watchtower might be some company, and it could just be for kind of social incentive among.
Yeah, like for example, if Breeze Wallet, they are running LND, and they have like very advanced interface on the phone, and they do provide a watchtower service just by default. So yeah, or for myself, if I have or anyone else who has nodes in different kind of physical locations, maybe you could have it like different countries or wherever. I just drop a Raspberry Pi wherever I am, wherever I have, leave a couple of clothes that just put a Raspberry Pi there as well, and then I that can act as a watchtower, and then even if the electricity is gone for a while, it can look after the nodes which are on the other place. So for yourself, you just it has minimal demand on the hardware, so it is. So I was
just wondering if would you I don't know, maybe I'm speculating too much, but is there less of a demand on the hardware as, say, running a full node for Lightning, so running like a Raspberry Blitz or something? So could you have watchtowers, I don't know, maybe using much smaller, cheaper hardware?
Yes, I think you can, but for now, there is like a pull request or like an issue open on the LND repo that later it is planned to be able to build just in itself as like you can build just the watchtower daemon, but for now it needs to run together with the LND, and then obviously it needs to watch the blockchain somehow, so you would need a full node in the background, or Neutrino later. I'm not sure, but these are not ready yet. But for now, you need a full node and a full LND on top to run a watchtower. So kind of Raspberry Pi 3 is the minimal.
Again, minimal viable product stuff again, isn't it? It's fine, which is fine.
You need to make sure that if you are running watchtowers, the reliability factor is important, right? You need to be online. You need to make sure that the watchtower itself is not going down, right? That makes it a good use case for a watchtower. The hardware, the reliability, that's important.
Yes, it needs to be always on, and you want it. Obviously, you don't want your node and the watchtower down at the same time. So that's why I'm suggesting that you should put it in 2 separate locations, not behind the same router, because that doesn't really, check all the possibilities.
Can you have multiple watchtowers? Or is that just?
I think for now only one at a time, but I mean, the speed of development of LND is just
because they could do like a 2 or 3 type thing. You could have like 3 of them, couldn't you? And then 2 of them agree on something on a state. Yeah.
I think how it works at the moment is if it loses connection to one, then it goes and tries to connect to a next one in the list. But at the time, it only connects to one.
And then again, this is all super duper complicated stuff, which hopefully in the future people won't even need to think about. It's just,
one button and get a watchtower set up. That's all.
You don't even need to like click a button. Like you just pay Bitcoin
there,
and then it's all for you.
Yeah. I mean, even now, if you just put it into the LND conf by default. By the way, in the Raspberry Blitz 1.3 release candidate 1, the watchtower equals active is already in the LND conf. So
cool.
those nodes can be already connected to. If the trick is staying public key as your LND node. So you need to find it out with a little command from the command line. And
oh, you just cut out there.
I know. I've been thinking more and more about linguistically, it's we keep saying Lightning Network and Bitcoin, and sort of differentiating between the two. And it's similar with this with kind of watchtowers, and it's we're always making these differentiations. Whereas I'm not like, if I'm going to send you an email, I'm not like, oh, do you want it SMTP or IMAP or it's just kind of just works and everything just works. So I think this is protocol development out in the open. Everyone's seeing how a sausage is made and all that. Is but eventually it will just work, and then we won't be talking about Lightning networks and whatever else.
Yeah.
I think the problem is as well, like a Lightning network is such good branding and it sounds so good. Like I think if we just called it like Unicast or and broadcast or I don't know, hopefully
the Bitcoin Sausage Network.
Yeah, exactly. Bitcoin Sausage Network. Yeah. We should probably even rename the show to just Bitcoin Unicast Group or something. I don't know.
Yeah, right.
But it's true though. To your point though, BTC Socialist, that it does somewhat confuse people. Between Lightning and Bitcoin, and unfortunately, you do see some pretty stupid stuff on Twitter where people are totally confused and sitting there saying Lightning's not Bitcoin.
Exactly, it gives the opposition, it just gives them fire, but not that we care, but it gives them just firepower, doesn't it? So if I'm going to send someone Bitcoin now, I'll be like, oh, do you want it unicast or broadcast? Shall I tell the world about this transaction, or shall I just tell you? And that's just kind of the way I'm trying to frame it now.
Yeah, I think Ben, you are doing a very good job of abstracting these all away with these open net projects or this kind of tangible point of sale things. It's like a layer on top. You have the cryptographic layer. I mean, we have someone who deals with that. There, Google. It is a great that's. I mean, obviously, the most of the work is done there, and then we have the whole Raspberry stack in between, which is kind of applies it, and then we have these point of sale devices, for example, on different level, which is all needed and comes back together when you don't need to. On the end, you just need to press a button and the QR code appears and scan it and it's done.
Well, I mean, we could get into the position where, if something cataclysmic does happen to the economy, which a lot of us think it might, we may suddenly be in the position where this stuff needs to work, and it needs to work in the real world, and we need to be able to just have these sorts of point of sale terminals, which shops and things already have. We need a plug-in for this, where it's going to be able to interact with the node and use Ollie's caveats, macaroons, so we can have limit the amount you can spend or to make these sorts of devices more possible. So I think it's just future proofing, isn't it? So we can switch interoperably from the fiat system to the Bitcoin system.
So see you having one of those devices. Do you actually?
I've tried my best, man. It's pretty locked down, and I'm pretty doofusy, so it takes me a while. I've been in contact with them. I think I might actually just have to go to one of their conferences or stalk the CEO or something. I don't know. I'll have to figure out a way to get in that company.
Yeah, you need a key for this, right?
Yeah.
That's what I was asking. Wanted to ask if how open is it, but obviously it is.
But I mean, they're competing companies, so ultimately, I'm sure you'll find one which is willing to try and innovate. Probably one of the smaller companies, and then give themselves that edge. I mean, you just for them, you're developing a plugin to do a thing, and then if they can get there, it's not a complicated thing doing it, getting a post request, and it's fairly secure. So, so if they can get their engineers to vet the code, like it's not much work for them. And it means that all those lot will dork over it and probably buy loads of their units. So it's maybe be good for their sales. So yeah, it's just taking the time to try and do like some liaison work with those industry guys, which a lot of us Bitcoiners aren't very good at.
Right. Yeah. And then they can force to have the payment routed through their node, and take their arbitrarily high fee and things like that.
That's true. That's a very good point. Actually, I hadn't thought of that. Yeah. That's why we don't want monopolies. Yeah.
That's exactly right. Okay, so I got to ask. Open noms. I feel bad, right? Like you weren't here for the last one, and now you're just getting slaughtered with all these questions. But okay, so I started working on the as you saw, like with the VM. Trying to get the Raspberry Blitz working on the VM. So I can get it to work perfectly if I don't enable Tor, and that thread. There hasn't been any development on it, but like, do you think this is going to happen, or is it just a dead project? Because I believe it or not, there's actually quite a few techie people that would love to get into running Lightning nodes, but they're just skittish about actually buying hardware. But they have computers where they can run VirtualBox, and they'd be willing to run Lightning nodes if they could stick it in a VM. So I think that this would really, really help with like the the other type of computer geeks, that like don't want to invest in this stuff but still want to play.
Well, yeah, I mean, that's a big project, but it's completely viable. It's already works perfectly well without Tor.
It does.
But the thing is, recently we have updated the base image to the DBM Buster. Tor was updated from like 3.8 something to 4.0. And then we put all this package into a VM, which is routed through your computer and then through the router as well. So there are so many places where this can be broken. But it just needs time. We will look into it. I will look into it certainly more. And that would be great to have just, maybe from the next image, from the released Raspberry Blitz 1.3, just to have another image on the side, which is a VM, which you can set up yourself as well, but you could just download it as you do it with the SD card image for the Raspberry Pi, and also as I've done one SD card image for the Odroid's HC1 and so on. So yes, I think I like to work on it more, and I certain thing is possible to do, but I didn't get Tor working behind in a virtual machine yet. So let's see.
Okay, so I don't feel so bad because
no. I don't think. Hopefully, someone who has experience with this, might have a look at this or listen to this podcast, and might pick up that. Oh, I might pitch in there.
Yeah, exactly. I hope so. Because I really think it's a cool project, and I got to tell you, it was a really cool experience to set it up in VirtualBox and, just have it nice like that. It's pretty cool. I think it kind of makes it kind of starts to create a shift to a more enterprise level application, but still accessible at the retail level.
It's also it's a good on-ramp for people as well, isn't it? If you can say to your techie mate, if you can say, well, just install this VMware thing, and then you've got a node running, and then show them that way, and then they'll start thinking, well, but build my own one out of a Raspberry Pi.
Exactly. Like for me, I could tell you, at first I wanted, like when I first tried the, I'm admitting my failure, but at first when I tried Staticus's Raspberry Bolt, I could not get that thing going, and like it just, so then I went and gave up, and then I got myself a Casa node. Got me super excited. I got it working. I felt confident. I was happy. And then I went and turned to the Raspberry Blitz, and I'm like, all right, I'm ready to get my own working. So, I think it does kind of help with the confidence, you know, like at the VM, they don't have to invest so much. They see it working. It's like, hey, I can do this.
Can I ask throw a random topic in for Ollie? I want to know how the custom macaroon stuff's going, and like whether we're going to get custom macaroons anytime soon. And you're the man to ask.
Yeah. I haven't heard anything new on the pull requests, so they're still in there. They're still on priority 3, I think. I've heard that maybe after 0.7, they might have time to review. I don't know. So sorry, no news yet. Yeah.
But they're on there for people to play with and test and experiment with. So.
Well, I didn't get any new comments or acts or whatever. So if you want to test them out, then feel free to do so. I guess that would probably help. Yeah, so there's not much I can do at the moment, I think, apart from rebasing all the time. So, yeah.
Right. Can you please link that PR so we might just build it into our. Or,
there are about 5 different PRs that are a bit connected to each other, so they build on top of each other. But I can link them, sure.
But does it work if you build the LND from your repo?
Yeah, sure.
So, for testing, that VM image, the virtual machine image, was for mainly this purpose, to allow quick testing, just a little change, and then you spin it up on obviously on my laptop or on a i7 PC or whatever. It just, no, it's less of a problem, but you needed to wait half an hour for a little change. Obviously, building LND was out of question from source, but in the virtual machine, it's much, it's a good way of testing in a known environment, which is now, well, if it will be stable. But it is stable on ClearNet, so we can test the little things in LND. That is a very exciting
Sure,
feature.
yeah. Yeah, I posted one pull request, the one where you can create new macaroon with custom permissions. Maybe that's useful. So you're not stuck with the read-only or admin or invoice macaroon, but you can create your own permissions as a list. And if you just go to the open pull requests and type in macaroon, you'll find all my other pull requests. So.
Yeah, right. And it also has the label of needs testing, so you can
yes. Yes.
labs as well. Yeah, indeed.
Cool. Yeah, thanks. Yeah.
So, I got a question that's off topic from TLS and macaroons, and I just wanted to know: is there any chance of getting BTC Pay server on the Raspberry Blitz? And I know some people have asked about that as well. Does anybody... They can't.
Because Dorier said it's like perfectly. He had it running on a Pi on top of but that was a Pi 3 too. So Pi 4, shouldn't be. It's just it's probably the case of someone sitting down and doing it, I guess.
Yeah. No, but you know what I mean, like throwing together the UI and everything like that, so it's all uniform and that's
a brilliant project.
That's like the whole key, It's like all of this stuff, all of these modules coming together, and you just have this killer UX, But of course, it's also the challenge of keeping everything small enough that it's actually affordable, instead of this turning into some beast.
Yeah, the problem with this that BTC Pay server is an Bitcoin. It is based on the Microsoft Net framework. It is many new dependencies which we don't need at the moment. And if we would need to put that on, then we would install a system which is actually bigger than the existing Raspberry Blitz stack. So, and also, what's the challenge here with these services that to make it use the same full node, the same Bitcoin Core, blockchain and Bitcoin Core resource what we use already with the LND, because by default, BTC Pay server has an automatic deployment one-line script to put it on a Raspberry Pi, but it's just it obviously downloads its own blockchain. So if we would do that on Raspberry Blades, it would need another 300 gigabytes and so on, and it just has its own UI. So to integrate it into a terminal-based, dialogue kind of thing which we have on the Raspberry Blades is just I would just rather put it onto another, right? But I like to use it, and I didn't try to put it on, but it's probably possible. But TCP server probably doesn't make sense. The other thing is, what is on my list is the Samurai Dojo, because that gives us, gives so many features. Well, Whirlpool is a GUI, so that won't, as it is now, it would only run on your PC, right? Because you need the screen and everything. But the Dojo is served as a backend of the Samurai wallet, and actually, using like Whirlpool doesn't make sense if you are not running your own Dojo as well. So and I mean there is an issue open about that, and there are some scripts which would help deploying with a custom full node, which is already on the Raspberry Blades. So that would be another very kind of possibly demanding thing, which would suit for the Raspberry Pi 4, but it just needs time to play with, right? I have a big list.
Yeah, it's like that's the problem. It's like we want to stick all these technologies together, It's like you just want to have everything, but it's just not possible.
But the thing is, we are running on this very cheap hardware, so you can have one for each.
Exactly. No, that's why I totally love it. Having 7 nodes is fun. So it's like...
And it's resilient as well, you see, because your LND wallet still works when you smashed your Samurai Dojo in the corner, or your dog has eaten it. You don't put all your eggs in one basket in that way.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, Koeniggers, you have a lot of nodes, right?
I just...
You just installed power outage protection, or...
That's right.
Do you also have over voltage protection? So from if there's a storm outside and lightning bolts hitting your house, will it fry your nodes or not?
Well, you know what? So it doesn't. I mean, don't get me wrong. It definitely doesn't have the high quality over voltage protection that it should. But the goal is that if that would ever happen, it would fry that battery before it hits my node.
Okay.
So it's supposed to have a kill built in. So if it gets hit, it's supposed to just stop at the battery. But we'll see. Yeah, I'm building actually now that I got the parts for the RPI 4. I'm gonna build the 7th node. So
cool.
Yeah, it's just fun. I like building the cases and everything like that.
Yeah, I really liked your secure case, which was what did you use for that, like the metal box?
So essentially, because I work in access control for a living, which is like intrusion systems and security systems. So essentially, those are the cans. Those are the cases that are used for those controllers. Because every single one of these keyless entry systems, like proximity and stuff like that, proximity cards. Right? Every single one of these, like, really what it is that there's a piece of software, a server, okay? And the server goes out usually through a network or serial protocol 232 or 485, and it goes out to an actual physical panel that is inputs and relays. So these cans are where you fit these relay boards inside. So they're all fire tested and everything. And as Crypto Cloaks pointed out, what was it? Are they fire tested with the holes as well? No, they are definitely not, and that'll just melt everything inside. But the can itself won't melt.
Yeah, it'd be quite nice because you could. This is the next thing I want to fiddle around with, is getting like slave nodes communicating with the Blitz. So run like RTL or something like that on a sort of slave node, and then have it display on like a little slave screen. So this can be completely separate. I think I spoke about it on the last show. So this can be completely separate to the node, and then the node can be in one of your secure boxes, and then that can just be communicating with it. I don't know if it feels like more secure, because the cool thing about the Blitz is the screen, but then in order to keep checking the screen, you have to keep exposing your node to the outside world, don't you? Or, you know,
and it's also part of the visual factor with the node, right? That screen is, you know. Because if it's just a box, it's boring. You know, it's like, so it's kind of that balance between function and
security, and I mean, you could have the screen on the outside, but you could still have the box secure without any holes in it, and then just have it communicate through. Or would you struggle to communicate? Do you reckon? Maybe, I don't know. Probably need to experiment.
No matter what, you still have to have one hole in that box to pass the wires through. Because you still have to, so you just, and they're all knockouts, right? So you punch one of those holes, and then you've got your two cables that come out.
Okay.
Your network and your power. Now, if it was a real installation, like let's say somehow in the future, running Lightning nodes becomes the same thing as processing payments for the network, for Visa and MasterCard. So you at this point now have to secure your location, and you've got one of these nodes. It's in a CAN. The reality is that there's special piping that comes out of one of those punch out holes and goes into a steel, like a steel pipe that you can't get to. So if this would ever become an industrial type of use case, there's industrial solutions that make it so that they can't be tampered with, or it's extremely difficult to tamper with it.
It's cool, man. I really like it because we obviously everyone brings what they can in their own experience into trying to make Bitcoin better and more resilient. But I really like the fact that that's your specific area of expertise and you're applying it to Bitcoin. It's cool.
I was gonna say it's the only thing, because I can't write code for shit. So
but your security is good.
Yeah, even though I kind of doxed myself on one of my posts, and Durgigi pointed it out. So.
Why? What was it?
I don't remember exactly, but yeah, he was able to find me on Google Maps, and I was like, hey, why don't you come visit me? I'm like, I'm in Massachusetts, and he goes and puts the map in and shows the town where I'm living, and he's like, I know.
Brilliant. Oh no.
I was like, oh, okay.
So, it was just your IP address, wasn't it?
Oh, that's right. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I just didn't enable Tor yet, and I didn't think of it. And it was too late, and I hate deleting posts because I'm a whole integrity and trust person, and I believe if you're deleting posts that it's kind of weak. Shouldn't need to delete posts. Anyways, yeah. So what else do you guys want to shoot about?
I think we're all done. I think maybe amazingly.
Yeah.
There's one new feature which came out called LND Mon. I don't know whether you got a chance to look at it. I have not played with it yet, but I kind of read through what it was, and it sounds like a good tool for network monitoring. Because especially for a routing node operator, there are a lot of network-related parameters that they need to track. And it looks like a good tool for automating all that monitoring of the network. And I think it still requires some development. It's just an initial release. But potentially what you can do is create some sort of monitoring rules, which then LND Mon can monitor and create events, alerts, which then can give you signals on taking specific actions, right? So, especially if you're running a routing node, there are so many parameters like channel balance, right? Fee rates. There's so many things that you can monitor actually on the network. And if this is automated, it will help you generate signals so that you can, react to those signals and take actions on the node. So it's a good start in that direction. But it's right now it's very basic. Now it's just monitoring and giving you graphs of the data that it is, garnering from LND node, but it can be developed much more further.
Yeah, and it's really cool, the technology they used. So they built it with Prometheus, which is an open source metric collection service. And then there's Grafana, which can basically chart these metrics. So the thing is, you can integrate all your other node statistics. So you can have a look at your operating system, because there are Prometheus daemons for almost every software. So you can just add more metrics to it, and they will go all into the same Prometheus instance, and then you can build your whole like monitoring dashboard with everything. So in my opinion, they chose the right tool to do it. So LNDmon is just, as far as I understand, a small binary that pulls stuff from the RPC and then publishes it to Prometheus, which is super useful because big node operators probably already have a Prometheus instance running somewhere where they collect all the other network information. So I think it's a cool technology stack they chose.
Yep. I think it needs to develop much more further, especially alerts, monitoring events, and then creating alerts so that you can get signals, right? That's important, right? You'll not always be looking at the charts, right? It's impossible to look at all that data stream. What you need is, creating some sort of real-time events, which generate signals, so that you can go and react to those signals.
I like that. We're gonna post the link to the article. Thank you very much, OpenOms. We're gonna and Suheb. We're gonna post a link to that in the show notes. That's really cool.
Yes, I think that will make the running a routing node much more easy. I mean, it's basically a Dockerized tool collection which you just spin up, and it doesn't even necessarily need to run on the same machine, so you can run it on your laptop and monitor Raspberry Blitz once you build it properly. And that's the other thing I'm continuously looking at, and I was just playing around with rebalancing some channels. There are like two Python-based libraries which are dealing with this. When you can basically, there is one called Rebalance LND, which is the older one of the two I know, and or more developed one, where you can just take two channels with the channel IDs and say that you want and put the amount of how many sets what you want to place from one channel to another one, and just rebalance it that way. And it's extremely easy to use. I mean, it's command line, but it's very self-explanatory, and also you can see how it tries to route around your channels. It usually needs about, like, in my channels I have like 15 going with like quite well connected nodes, but still, to rebalance some of my channels, it needs 3, 4, 5 hops to go around my connections, and it all updates that. But the aim is to have this automated, of course. Exactly. And then I think everyone is. I mean, a lot of people. I'm sure all the implementations are working on it, like LNDC, like Eclair, to have this working as like an autopilot is working, just have an automatic rebalancing script going in the background. But then you have these projects which you can use already manually. So that is very exciting. And also, as you said, Suheb, you need to provide data for these. Yeah. And this LNDmon is a very good source for that.
Yeah, thank you very much, Suheb. That's I didn't even know about LNDmon, so very, very cool. And yeah, the going back to the channel rebalancing, people would definitely want to have, obviously, an automated script or a scheduled task, where, let's say, a certain amount of times a day it just automatically rebalances the channels, or something like that. So, and that kind of obviously keeps your node healthy, so.
Yeah.
Well, look, guys, if we don't have much else to talk about, we can go through our final thoughts. What does everybody think about that? All right, we're gonna get started with. We'll go back down the line, the reverse order. We'll start this time with BTC Socialist, man. Final thoughts. Shill your stuff.
Not really sure. Looking forward to. So obviously, I think these shows are they every month or every couple of months? So
we do it every month, but everybody shows up.
Okay.
We schedule it every month.
I managed to get a ticket for the Lightning conference in Berlin, and they were selling out like hotcakes. And Jeff's done this, so like the Chaos Communication Congress, the tickets for that are kind of like staggered. So he's done a similar system, I think, with the LN conference. So it's actually quite hard to get a ticket. So I was really happy to finally get mine because it'd suck if I couldn't go to that. So anyone out there who's really interested in Lightning stuff and can make it to Berlin, then come along. It should be absolutely amazing. So yeah, just been thinking about that really, and I'm going to send this bad boy to room 77. So when we go to the after party in the Berlin conference, I can't wait to buy a beer using this thing. And that's pretty much all I've got to think about really at the moment.
You need to record that, by the way. Like that has to be a video. We need to see that.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's for me, it's like as a personal journey. Like the first, so when I first went to the first Lightning Hack Day, I got there a few days early, and then I just tweeted out, "Is there anyone around?" And people said, "Oh yeah, we're in room 77. Go to." It was the first time I'd been to room 77, and I met Jorg, the guy who owns it, and he's like an old school cypherpunk, super cool guy, one of the most interesting people you'll ever meet. And then he was like a Lightning skeptic, and it wasn't until the third, just because he'd had like real world problems with Bitcoin scaling issues, accepting payments for beer. He'd had to do like zero conf and stuff. So he was pretty skeptical about the proposals to scale, in a good way. But by the third conference, René Pickard and a bunch of others, they developed like a way for Jorg to be able to accept Lightning transactions on his phone. And then he was like, it's 6 a.m. He was like, after the after party had fizzled out, he was at the end of the bar hacking away on his laptop, and he was on Reddit. He put this post, and it's like, the scaling debate's over, and he's super psyched about it. I was at the other end of the bar drinking a beer, which I'd paid for on Lightning. It was cool. So to go from like turning up at that first Lightning conference, Lightning Hack Day as like a complete noob, couldn't really figure out where I could maybe fit in and help, to actually having like a device which I'd worked on, in the bar, accepting payments for, Bitcoin payments, unicast Bitcoin payments. That would just be a great kind of full circle thing for me. So hopefully that'll happen. I'm going to send it to him anyway, so you better bloody use it.
Very cool, and I'm definitely going to look into the M5 Stack website and get some hardware. Thank you so much. Okay, so next down the line, Suheb, any final thoughts? Anything you want to share with the folks?
I think I gave all the upgrades. So just wanted to recognize Diogo Sergio, who's actually the person working with us on UX. I think you guys, some of you might know him already from BitDevs in London, I believe.
Cool.
But he's the person who's actually working with us for UX. I'm pretty excited about it. So give us some time to work on these his UX suggestions, and then we'll come out with a new look and feel of RTL.
Very cool. Very cool. Thank you very much. All right, OpenUms, any final thoughts?
Well, I'm just so amazed that, just between like 6 of us, we are, working so many things, and I'm so excited about every update from every one of you is just, amazing. Just to follow this, I try to keep up with my projects as well, and I will see you in the Berlin Lightning conference as well. Managed to get one of the very early bird tickets with a quick Lightning payment. And yes, I mean, shout out to Diego. He's the one who actually makes the Lightning, the London Bitcoin Dev videos available. He's the one recording. So
cool.
Anyone who's been there has met him. Very good UX person, I'm sure. I've had some chat with him in the background as well. What's what? So be in contact, and it's a very nice thing that you are working with him. Excited for this also. And thank you for this call.
Cool, man. We love having you on. All right, we're going to move over to Oliver. Any final thoughts?
Yeah, I'm also really looking forward to the Lightning Conference in October. I've even been asked by Jeff if I'd like to give a talk, so I'm probably going to speak there. I don't really know about the topic yet. I think it might be interesting to talk about channels in general with more detail on the whole cryptography that's behind it, how does that stuff look, and how do the watchtowers work. But yeah, if anyone's got an idea what they always wanted to know, maybe I can talk about this then. And I'm also going to be at the Chaos Communication Camp, so really looking forward to that. We're taking the beer tap with us again, so there will be Lightning beer. So yeah, it's going to be an exciting fall, yeah.
Oh, you're making me jealous. You guys have fun.
Sorry.
Have fun. No, don't be. Have fun, have beers, make memories, all that good stuff.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah. Cool.
All right, thank you. All right, Rick from the Crypto Cloak. Any final thoughts, my friend?
I need to go get a ticket to Berlin because you guys are doing all the cool stuff over there. So, besides that, we just had a contest that we gave away one of our shells, and it went to actually a really good person over in South Korea. They run a little like Bitcoin group, and they're trying to explore Bitcoin in South Korea, and it's called Soul Bitcoin. So I finally got that node done for them. Pretty excited. I tossed in a Raspberry Pi 3 for them to get them started, so that way they can try to get that Raspberry Blitz node running, and then they can mess with payments and everything, and they can kind of learn about it in their community. So that's pretty exciting to get that done over to them. Besides that, yeah, the new shells are ready to go. The open source one, hopefully I'll drop this week when I get that done, and then I can get feedback from everybody in the community. They can let me know what I need to change or whatnot. Do any of you guys have printers that you can test print too?
I'm going to get one.
You got one.
I might be able to. Yeah, I might be able to access one.
Okay. Perfect. Because I'll get those uploaded, and then if you guys want to test print, and then we can see how it goes, and whatever many changes you guys want, I can start doing that, or you can do them yourself if you want.
Cool.
It sounds like decentralized crypto cloaks.
Yeah, exactly. There we go. Decentralizing at least one thing. I know I've been asked when FTL for the last 2 years almost. So.
Are you gonna stick it on Thingiverse?
Yeah, I can put it on Thingiverse. I'll have it on my file factory on Crypto Cloaks, and I'll just put it on the GitHub too, so it'll be everywhere, and we can go from there.
Cool.
Fantastic.
Very
so
cool.
Yeah, that's all I got. Exciting stuff happening over here, but you guys are all coding super cool stuff. Excited for the next meeting.
I love your poster in the back, by the way. He's doing a nice kickflip with his Bitcoin board on the moon.
Yeah, I love that one.
Very nice.
Have Bitcoin art in your shop.
Very nice. I like it. All right. So look, I just want to thank everybody again for your time and your expertise. You guys are all absolutely awesome. And, one day somebody's going to look back at all of this and be like, hey, this is part of what made Bitcoin great. So thank you all very much for coming on this, the third Lightning Roundtable. And I'll catch you guys all on the next one.
Right.
Sure.
Thank you.
Thank you.
See you guys.
I hope everybody enjoyed this episode of the Lightning Node Roundtable. It's really incredible to get all these folks together and to talk this all out. I learn something new every time. There's going to be a lot of links in the show notes, like for Oliver's article, and there's going to be some other links in the show notes as well for the M5 stack that BTC Socialist was talking about. We're also going to put in the show notes, there was a link that Suheb had discussed about the LND monitor, so we're going to put that. Anyways, check out the show notes. The show notes are probably almost as valuable as our discussion, which is pretty great. Anyways, as always, if you want to reach me, you could find me at Coin Icarus on Twitter and Telegram. And if you want to reach me by email, I'm funwithcrypto@protonmail.com. Thank you all for listening, and catch you all next time.